transfer anything through any studio should have a vetting process. That vetting process should be trial by jury by DBCC. Yeah, the harbingers. I just like using the word harbinger. Slightly insidious, but at the same time could be a good thing. Although you never hear like you never hear like it's usually a harbinger of doom. It's not like harbinger of plentiful.
Right. You never get like a harbinger of fruit baskets.
Aha! I am the harbinger of the muffin basket.
Oh,
congratulations on your 15th year anniversary with the company. I must go now.
That's the frosting on the muffin.
Frosting on the fucking muffin.
All right. Well, welcome everyone.
Are we live?
We are live to another.
How much of the harbinger conversation did they get?
Pretty much all of it.
Oh shit.
So welcome to a brand new season of Duncan and Bo. Come correct. Continuing. Some say despite all rational thinking.
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
Our the sub-series Duncan and Bo / fiction, we have this is what it's all been about, Duncan. Lest we forget.
This is the problem. This is like we spent a year watching this TV show because of this season.
Yeah.
And I watched the first episode, and that last year feels like it was wasted, Bo. I don't want to upset the hardcore slasher heads out there, but yeah. Season 4 is not filling me with confidence even a little bit.
Well, first of all, I question how many hardcore slasher heads there are out there.
Don't know. It keeps getting. Hey, listen, it keeps getting reprogrammed and given a new season.
Are they doing a season 5? Has that been announced? Is that a thing that's going to happen?
I mean, come on. Have you watched any of the Creepshow stuff on Shudder?
Yeah, I've watched.
They're up to like season fucking 3 on that. And it's about as mediocre a TV show as you're gonna get. So
I would argue the episodes of Creepshow I've seen have been better than.
Oh god, yeah. Oh yeah. But you've not watched all of Creepshow. Trust me, there's a few in there that are slasher level.
I'm sure, but it's an anthology. You know, like that's such is the curse of the anthology, in my opinion. You can't. Yeah. You're always gonna get some stinkers in there where you're dealing with different filmmakers and different writers and different, blah, blah, blah. I at some point, like if I ever break my leg, I'll sit down and watch some more of that Creepshow series.
Don't do it.
I've got others.
Trying anything else except that. Like, there's the problem with Slasher season 4, right? Mm-hmm. Is that
please, what is the problem with Slasher season 4?
Aaron Martin keeps getting some sort of weird positive feedback in what he's doing, and that every time they greenlit another season of it, that is him essentially getting positive reinforcement that what he's doing is good, and that's why we're here. Like season 4 is like that. Well, we had all that Netflix back. Let's transition over Shudder, which is the Netflix of horror. And we're gonna get into it, but I was excited. Remember, I said I was like, it's the you have to spend a night in the creepy house to get my fortune sort of setup. I am down to clown on that. That's like about as classic horror as it gets. So I was like, yes, and then just instantly, I forgot about flashbacks, and as soon as that thing started, I was like, oh no. No, and for some reason we're doing a riff on Ready or Not, and I'm not down with that either, so I don't like it, no.
Yeah, and not the Fuji song.
No, gonna find you
and make you slash me.
Yeah, pretty much. I also have a very strong theory. I know who the killer is already, so...
Okay, we'll get into that on the back end, because I'm not... I don't have a confident guess, but I definitely have a guess.
All right, cool. Right, I've got a guess, but it's a guess without substantiated evidence to the contrary, because this is the most superficial episode ever. We got no real character background at all. But there was one where I was like that. if I was going to be a killer on a TV show, I would be you. So we'll see if that plays out over the next 7 episodes after this, Bo.
It is kind of quaint that this show uses the technology of the telegraph, especially in the kills, where you're like beep 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 beep. Oh, slasher kill coming.
There's at least one. There's a death in the episode that had me fucking howling on the couch. Like I was like, I had like tears pissing in my eyes because they relied on someone selling the death who is maybe the most cold filmmaker in the history of cinema.
Yes, we will get to David Cronenberg in this episode. It's quite a treat.
It's the most baffling bit of casting I've ever seen it in my entire life.
He's got an IV.
Just insane, absolutely insane. But yeah, there we go.
All right. Well, as we always do here on Duncan and Bo come correct.
This is what it's done to us. This is what it's done to us, Bo.
Dude, I'm telling you, I woke up too early today. That's the real problem. Is that at like 6 a.m. I'm taking apart my computer to put new thermal paste on my processor.
Yeah, you had one of those.
Yeah.
That's,
where
I get what last night. I'm not particularly well at the moment, and I struggle. Like everyone knows, I struggle to sleep at the best of times. Even worse when I'm not well. I just can't get comfortable at all. So I kind of tossed and turned. I listened to. I think I caught up with about 4.5 hours of a podcast I was running behind on. So I'm now back up to date with that, which was kind of great. But the weather over here last night was pretty horrendous. It was like gale force winds. It was like 85 miles an hour winds. And I live kind of uphill. So it was just howling around my house all last night. And every creak, I thought, that's my fence. Come down. And I'm going to have to deal with a broken fence this morning. And it wasn't at all. But, I've not slept. I am like overtrained, undermotivated. I've watched the new season of Slasher, and I'm here to chat about with you, Bo. Like, I'll be honest, if this recording was with anyone else, I would not be fucking here. Well, I would have just said, bin it. Although I did try last night to see, I floated an idea with you, Bo, and I thought this idea will work because Bo will be on board, and Bo was like, Bill to the shit. And we're here.
So yeah. Oh well. Speaking of bad ideas, we're gonna do Science Crazed in a couple of weeks. So
but that at least gets Doug Tilley off my back. Doug Tilley's been asking me every time I ask for listener suggestions. Doug Tilley's posted that in my group page now for the best part of about 6 years.
I don't know. Hold on. Let's see if this will show here.
Yeah. Oh God.
So yeah, sure enough, Doug Tilley's name on the back of the box. Where
is he in commission? Is that what it is?
That I'm pretty sure. And the blurb is, by the way, you have never ever seen anything like Science Crazed, I promise you. Which, not incorrect. That is a correct assessment of Science Crazed. But
so you've seen it now?
Oh yeah.
I've still to watch it. I'll watch it just before we record it because I ain't watched it twice.
I'm gonna listen to the filmmaker's commentary. I don't think it's actually director commentary. I think it's like somebody who is Canucksploitation.com, something like that, does commentary. Probably Doug.
Doug Tilley, isn't
it?
It's
probably
Doug. Doug Tilley made the movie. What you don't know is Doug has like a series of different, for tax purposes, Doug has like a series of different names, and he's made this movie himself. Yeah. So
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, like it's his Alan Smithy is who directed this? I don't guess it says on the box because
that's usually an indicator.
yeah, I'd have to look, but right, yeah. So at any rate, this movie is truly bizarre. But we're gonna enjoy talking about it anyway. Hello, Robert, in the chat. But the point being, what we normally do to kick off these episodes is to talk about a movie, good and bad, that we've seen recently.
Yep.
And you want to kick things off? I'm loaded for bear, but you
Yeah, so I've not. I'll be honest with you. I've not actually seen anything that I actively disliked.
Ooh.
So, what I'm coming in here with is what I really liked, and a TV show that I'm watching that I'm almost at the halfway mark. That at the moment I'm really enjoying, but it has the potential to make some mistakes. So we'll be tracking that. By the next time we record, I'll be finished. So my good on this one is the new Guillermo del Toro movie, Nightmare Alley, which is just fucking awesome. Like, I mean, I think he said in an interview that he's been wanting to do this for like decades. And like way back at like Cronus time, he was wanting to do this movie, and he just needed to wait. Essentially, needed to get the Best Picture Oscar in order to make the movie. It's like, so this is everything that you want from a Del Toro movie on screen. I mean, its biggest crime, if there is one, is that it's very blatantly obvious how it's going to end from about 20 minutes into it. I 100% knew exactly how it was going to end, but then that works to its benefit, because when you understand that's most likely how the movie's going to end, you're then basically following the rise and fall of Bradley Cooper's character. And Bradley Cooper is fucking incredible in this, like absolutely incredible. And the cast, once again, it's Del Toro, great cast around him. Richard Jenkins is incredible in it as well. He plays like a really menacing character that I wasn't expecting from him. Once again, just proving that he's easily one of the most versatile actors out there that is completely underused in Hollywood. But yeah, you've got like Toni Collette, Ron Perlman shows up for a wee bit. You've got just like loads of different Willem Dafoe. Like Willem Dafoe at the moment is having like a mini renaissance. Like, I mean, I don't think the guy's ever not been like an incredible actor, but in the space of a week and a half, I saw him reprise the role as the Green Goblin in that Spider-Man movie, and he's the best thing in that Spider-Man movie. I just want to stress I enjoyed that Spider-Man movie before I get hate mail. I did enjoy it, but he is by far the best thing in that. He's like a head and shoulders above everyone else. And then obviously his appearance in here in Nightmare Alley. He's going to be in The Northman later on this year for Rob Eggers. So I mean, like he's Defoe. But yeah, it's beautifully shot. It's got that kind of great Art Deco kind of style of the kind of 1930s, 1940s, and just beautiful. It has a real noirish quality about it.
Well, it's based on a classic noir film. Yeah. Book originally, then a noir film. Yeah. But yeah, Tyrone Power, I think, was in the original Nightmare Alley.
And so I'm on a bit of a bent at the moment with that. My whole new season of Where to Begin With this year is looking at film noir, neo-noir. So 10 picks of me to kind of put that out there for people to check out what they can, and hopefully get them as excited about the genre as I am. But yeah, it ticked all the boxes for me. And at the end of it, once again, I went to see it with the Baz. And we were talking about it at the end, and the Baz was basically saying, Del Toro, he's like, he never never really fully commits to like a horror movie, but there's always elements in it that, very much groomed it in that environment. I was like, yeah, but that's kind of what makes him like such an interesting director, is the fact that like the best directors in the world don't have to make an out and out horror movie to have that impact. They can just include it as part of the DNA of the project. David Lynch being a great example of that. So yeah, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Easily the best thing I've seen this year thus far, although it is only January. So yeah, that is my good.
Andrew also pointing out in chat that Del Toro's next project is his Pinocchio that he's been wanting to do forever. So
this is like just keep giving. My point is just keep giving them money. Like everyone, just keep giving him money. Because like there's nothing that guy doesn't make that doesn't look like. I mean, I think Nightmare Alley was 45 million, I think is how much it cost to make.
Yeah, I mean, but perfect but
it looks so much more than that. I mean, it looks so tangible and so real and grounded that, like, if someone had said to me, "Oh no, he'd spent Marvel money on that movie," I would have totally believed it. It's just such a lush looking movie. So yeah, and he's Pinocchio end of the year. I think it's coming straight to Netflix. And that, once again, that's another thing where I'm like that. See if he just wants to do the old Mike Flanagan thing and just keep over with the Netflix guys, I'd be fine with that as well. Like anything that allows that man to make the movies that he wants to make me very happy.
All right, well, I'll give you my good. Also, what up, Pete Quint, also joining us in chat.
What's up?
All right, so what is my good? All right, let me talk about this.
You've been spoiled. You've seen so many good movies.
I mean, we could talk about Citizen Kane again, but I mean, what a tremendous film. But so I recently rewatched The Martian. And
right.
And
wow.
I kind of want to. The point I want to make about The Martian is less that the movie The Martian is really good, which it is, and I enjoyed watching it again. But I had just read the book, and so I went back to revisit the movie after reading the book. And I got welcome to Clichéville, Population Bow. It was one of those experiences where I was like, I really like this movie, but it is such a shadow of what the book is.
Yeah.
And I just want to encourage anyone, like, if you enjoyed the movie The Martian, definitely check out the book, because I'll tell you, the point in the movie when I was watching it, and this is my good, keep in mind, even though I'm gonna trash talk the movie a little bit, but it's really good. It's like super entertaining and filled with good performances, and it's one of the best like real world space movies since like Apollo 13.
Yeah.
But the or takes the science fiction seriously, in a way that's really fun. But in the movie, when you have that Matt Damon moment where he's like, I'm gonna science this shit, and you're like, huh, all right, and that's fine. But in the book, it's like, oh, it has to go into detail of here is how he is going to science that shit.
Yeah.
And I had forgotten that because, again, I was coming straight off the book, so I had sort of forgotten that the movie really glosses over most of that stuff, which is understandable because I don't know that it makes for that exciting a movie to be like, well, I've got to find these parts per million of water to grow these potatoes successfully.
It's a difficult balancing act when it comes to adaptations like that. In a book form, you can really find yourself getting invested, but if you're trying to make all the money at the box office, it's just going to get condensed down.
Yeah,
very difficult to do a montage in a book.
Right, well, yeah, for sure. And but I still enjoyed it. Like, I had a great time watching the movie. But the whole time I was watching it, I was like, boy, this, honestly, I understand why you make all these decisions to make this movie what it is.
Yeah.
But I was really missing, like, oh, there's the whole part with the sandstorm that just doesn't exist in the movie, and that was such a great part of the book, and yada yada yada. Alan also asking, what is the nature of the good? And if we're going to get into kind of Kantian philosophy this early, let me just say that.
Like Bo's been up since 6 o'clock repairing his PC, so this is not the time to be throwing those questions out, Alan. You should know better, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, look, epistemology is a totally different podcast. But we can do that. I've got my copy of Kant laying around somewhere. I've got, like, where do you want to go? Hegel? Do you want to talk some Hegel as well?
I enjoy a good Hegel. Try and get that price down.
Hegelian philosophy, sir, is a little too rooted in religion for my taste, but I get it. And that also reminds me, this is probably a joke I've told you before, Duncan, but if you've never seen it, there is an old Steve Martin special that he did for the CBS network over here in the States. And one of the bits he did was the death of Socrates. And
you've never told me this. So.
Okay. So, and search it out. I think you could probably find it on YouTube or something. But anyway, so it's Steve Martin in like the toga, surrounded by, wizened old men. And they come in and they're like, Socrates, here's your hemlock. And he's like, great. And he drinks it real fast.
Yeah.
And he goes, so what was the verdict? And they're like, it was guilty. You just drank the hemlock. And he goes, so? And they're like, well, hemlock is poison. And he goes, that's what gets me about you guys. It's always, Socrates, what is truth? Socrates, what is justice? Socrates, what is the nature of the good? But not once did anyone ever say, Socrates, hemlock is poison. It's tremendously funny. And I recommend that you go seek it out. But anytime somebody asks about the nature of the good, it's Steve Martin that pops into my head complaining about the fact that no one ever told him hemlock was poison.
Oh dear.
Alan also admitting that he is a stinker, much like Bugs Bunny. And Pete Quint pointing out Nicolas Cage, as well knows, about to be Dracula in a movie. And
which that's Universal money.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad. That sounds like a great pick to me.
Does it?
Yeah. Well, all right. So the movie is called Renfield. It is. Who's playing Renfield? Is it?
If it's not Tom Waits, then it's not worth watching.
Well, I mean, what's he sucking in there? Hold on. I was gonna say it's Daniel Radcliffe, but now that doesn't sound right. Like this feels like it is a comedy. Nicholas Hoult. Nicholas Hoult.
I do like Nicholas Hoult. It's confusing me. It's get like, and nothing like, I love me Nicolas Cage. I love me some Nicolas Cage. I'm down to clown on that. But once again, this is we're trying to do things differently because that Dark Universe shit didn't work. Mm-hmm. So we've had our Invisible Man movie. That did what it did. Karen Kusuma's doing is it the Bride of Frankenstein? Mm-hmm. I think is what she's working on, which once again, she's known for a particular style of filmmaking. It's usually kind of female empowered. So very much looking forward to that. And then this one is just like,
All right. So it's directed by Chris McKay, who is best known perhaps for doing the Lego Batman movie. And and that Chris Pratt Tomorrow War film that got dumped on Amazon because it's not very good. I didn't watch it at all because you didn't seem too too keen on it. So I was like, in the exact opposite of an Aerosmith moment, you didn't miss a thing. And so Renfield is Nicholas Hoult is Renfield. Ben Schwartz. I like him as an actor. I've followed him since he was a kid in the UK. He's a really, really, really good actor. And Nicolas Cage, I don't know. You know what it is? I just don't. I've said it before. Cage is like, if you get a good script and a good director to keep him on point, he will turn in a phenomenal performance. Yeah. If you get a director who takes the eye off the ball, then you're going to get full on Cage, and that sometimes is not a great thing. You never want to go full Cage. Full Cage. And I like my expectations for this movie are very tempered because I don't think the director has done anything that knocked my socks off. Also, it's taking a comedic slant on the Dracula story. Yeah. And like, we've already done that with Dracula Dead and Loving It. That's really all I need. I'm not enema. Dude, the best joke in that whole movie is when Mel Brooks as Van Helsing is getting the guy to pound the stake into the vampire lady's heart. Yeah, and he ducks behind the column. Yeah. And so, and that after the explosion of blood, and the payoff to it is when they get back to, the party or whatever. And they're like, I think it's Harvey Korman who asks him, like, Dr. Van Helsing, how is it that he is covered in blood and you look fine? And he says, you have to know where to stand. Yeah, it's a good joke. It's a great joke. It's a great joke. I'm such a kid, like, when it comes to, like, sense of humor. See, Leslie Nielsen just standing pulling a face will make me laugh. But see him raising out of the coffin, doing the kind of thing like that, and then hitting the chandelier with his head. Yeah. Howling. All the simple things. Also, the bit of him and Van Helsing trying to get the last word at the party is really funny. Like, Dracula Dead and Loving is not great, but there are
It's not,
definite moments.
it is pretty funny though. That
Yeah.
was when he was doing that whole kind of. He did like about 3 or 4 movies all together that are just basically spoofs. It was before you started getting like the scary movies and all the rest. So he had Dracula Dead and Loving It. He had
Robin Hood Men in Tights.
He had Wrongfully Accused though.
Oh, Leslie Nielsen, you mean?
Yeah, Leslie.
Oh,
Yeah, Leslie
like
Nielsen
Repossessed and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So Wrongfully Accused is his take on The Fugitive, which, like, once again, fucking hilarious. And then what's that? It's Spy Hard, which is him being James Bond.
Yeah,
which is a terrible movie. Like, that's like nigh on unwatchable, but kind of funny at the same time.
Andrew points out the vampire movie to look out for. Obviously, Robert Eggers' Nosferatu.
You're never going to get that now.
Shut
like, the
your
studio.
Goddamn mouth.
You're not, but you know you won't, because he made The Lighthouse. He made The Lighthouse instead of Nosferatu, and that's why The Lighthouse is shot all German expressionism like Nosferatu.
I hold out hope that eventually he's going to circle.
You will never.
I swear to God.
I'm telling you now, you will never get a Robert Eggers Nosferatu. You will never get that. He is done his German expressionism movie, and that's The Lighthouse. And I'll be honest with you, I fucking love The Lighthouse. Like, he took all the techniques of Nosferatu and transferred it to a different story.
All right.
So
I don't want to talk about this anymore. It makes me too sad. So what is your bad movie for this week?
So no bad movie, but I'm watching a TV show at the moment that has got me interested. So I'm watching Archive 81, the James Wan produced adaptation of a podcast that I was marginally obsessed with during its first season back in 2016, I think is when that came out.
I have not finished this yet, but I've watched some of it, so yes.
Yeah. So I'm about the halfway mark. I think I've watched about the first 3-4 episodes, and I'll be honest with you, what I'm seeing is really, 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 really good. I mean, for those that haven't listened to the podcast, it is following some of that, but it's obviously taken some big kind of big creative differences. Has to, because it's in a different medium. Like a podcast, he's kind of renewing and archiving audio cassettes, and this one it's videotapes because it's a bit visual media. But loving the casting, loving the found footage element of it. I think that the way they're doing like a bleed of time between what's happening in the past, what's happening in the present, and some weird interaction between the main characters, I think is also kind of awesome. And yeah, like everything they've done thus far in the episodes that I've watched, it's been well paced, well acted, really well shot, and different, which is the big thing to me. Like, we're about to talk about a horror TV show on this episode, and I've seen quite a few horror TV episodes, well, horror shows of late, where things are all very rudimentary and different shades of the same thing. And Archive 81 seems like the first in a while, like a legitimate attempt to try and make something different. And which, like, it certainly has its roots in like a kind of more malicious Twilight Zone. But yeah, I think it's really, really, really good. It has the potential, because it's only 8 episodes, and I don't know if they're doing a season 2. So if they're wrapping up this story, at the moment, I'm unsure how they're going to do that. Plus, the podcast season 1 ends in a way which narratively wouldn't make me excited in a visual format. So I'm kind of hoping to change the ending. Because by the time season 2 of Archive 81 came on any podcatching device, I kind of checked out a little bit. They kind of pushed it beyond the bit of interest for me. So yeah, at the moment, very high on it. I think people are getting a bit too. They do this with a lot of different things at the moment, where like the new Candyman comes out, let's all praise Jordan Peele, and I'm like, well, he's the producer, right? And like, he didn't direct it, but like every article is Jordan Peele's Candyman. You know, I hate that shit. James Wan seems to be getting an inordinate amount of credit for Archive 81, and he has not directed an episode. He's executively producing it. So
yeah, let's credit where it's due. Archive 81 is the showrunner for it is Rebecca Sonnenschein. And,
right, there you go.
Yeah. And yeah,
why we're not focusing on that? I understand why we're saying James Wan, because he is probably, as it stands just now, one of the biggest power brokers in terms of like horror projects getting off the ground. I understand that, but at the same time, give credit where credit is due. Someone is running that show and doing it really well, and his name appears as a producer on it. So let's focus on all the good work the rest of the team's doing. So that's my thoughts on it. But yeah, it has the potential. Has the potential to turn bad. And I'm looking forward to sitting down here in 2 weeks' time and telling you whether or not it managed to stay the course, or whether it went to the bad place, Bo.
All right. Well, we'll check back in on Archive 81, and hopefully by then I'll have wrapped it up too. I still have a couple of episodes of Station 11 to finish, which has been
nice.
Tremendous.
That's
really, really good. And then Archive 81, I'm gonna wrap up after that. So
nice.
Let me get to my bad.
What's your bad, Bo?
I mean, there's just so many, Duncan.
Why do you do this to yourself?
All right, well, this doesn't answer the question, but here's my answer to the question, which is I've really been indulging myself when it comes to the found footage movies, because I do a bonus episode every couple of weeks on Dark Parade where I talk about found footage movies, and it's you're panning for gold with those found footage movies. You know, you're like, a lot of these are going to be shit. Every now and again, you're going to run into one that's pretty good. But let me tell you one, especially this episode hasn't even released yet. So here's a preview of an episode of the found footage full stuff that I do. But I watched one called The Dark Web Tapes.
I've not seen it, but I've seen it on Amazon.
Yeah, right. It's on Amazon Prime. Yeah. Don't ever watch it.
I had kind of flashy art.
Yeah.
It was all like blues and whites and kind of, I would say enticing, Bo, but
I
ain't got time for that.
The poster will fucking trick you. So the there was another found footage anthology called The Dark Tapes, not to be confused with the Dark Web Tapes. Yeah. The Dark Tapes got a little bit of noise. I don't think it's terrific, but I think it's okay. You know, it's an anthology. It kind of rises and falls, and it never, the highs aren't tremendously high, but there are moments that are like, oh, that's kind of an interesting take on the idea of what a demon is and stuff like that. You know, some ideas going on in that. Whereas the Dark Web Tapes was made for $10,000, if IMDb is to be believed. I don't know where that money went.
Drugs.
Certainly not on the screen.
It's always drugs, Bo.
It's probably the poster art is where it all went. Dude, I shit you not. A solid of an hour and 20-minute runtime, solid 40 to 45 minutes of that, makeup tips. Absolutely true. Because the whole idea is that it's like, oh, there's this woman. It's also an anthology. Although even that I question. Also, it's a movie. Where one of the stories is this woman who runs like a makeup blog or blog, has like a YouTube channel all about makeup tips and whatnot, and that's what a lot of the movie is.
It's maybe one of my least favorite things that they're doing right now in cinema as a technique and set up for movies is vloggers. It's done to death now. It's done to, and I understand that like we need to find a reason for these people to be in this scenario, but it's just such a lazy setup. And it's also to try and excuse people's actions as well. Well, they'd want to keep involved with what's happening for their clicks. for the likes on their platform and all the rest. And it's about as ham-fisted as the reasons why people hold cameras in a found footage movie when they're being chased by a demon. As you know, you get to the point where you're like, that camera gets thrown at the demon so you can run faster.
Oh, we'll talk about the gallows another time, Duncan.
Yeah. Oh, God, don't even, man. I never watched that second one. I refuse to watch that second one.
I started the second one, and I got to tell you, the one thing I will say for the second one is that it gets away from being a found footage movie, and it's just a movie. And I'm like, okay.
So was it The Last Exorcism did the same thing? So the first movie's found footage, the second movie isn't found footage,
right? Or Blair Witch, where it uses some of that, but that is not the thrust of the movie. Like, it is just a movie. But
so I'm just wanting to find out though, if you spent 45 minutes looking at makeup techniques, why am I not seeing you dolled up this morning?
I didn't have time, but if you're asking me, do I know how to make my eyes pop? Yes, I do know that.
That's good to know,
dude. It was like my nose and ears started bleeding at a certain point. like it was one of those movies where about halfway through it, I was like, I gotta turn this off. I can't keep watching this. But then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, let me finish this because I want to talk about it on Found Footage Full. But also because of how mind-numbing it was. Like, this is a movie, in theory, Duncan, this is a movie that is intended for horror fans. And how on earth would you waste their time for 45 minutes of the runtime with, all right, well, and I like shimmer, and let me put a little here, and, and I was, Duncan, I mean,
it's how you pad your movie out when, like, the $10,000 or whatever it took to make. I guarantee that the person that was fronting a lot of that cost is the one that wrote that story.
Maybe so. And
you know what I mean? So that's why it has to be in there.
And it was directed by the actress who starred in it. And even as I thought about it, I was like, she just needed to somebody to say, like, and she's not terrible. That's the thing, is like, she's not a bad actress.
Yeah.
But you just need to say, like, you only need like 5 minutes of makeup shit, and then the audience gets it. They understand that this is what you do.
Yeah. Or just do that on YouTube.
Oh, right.
You know, like, just take it. Like, if you feel like if your 5 minutes isn't enough to get all your techniques out there, just create a YouTube channel and do it over there.
Maybe that's the real solution. But it was, boy, that was a rough watch. and like I said, the only reason I finished it was because I was like, I need to see this through. I need to see what happens. Turns out nothing happens.
Nothing.
And like, it ends at the place that it should have started, which is also like, did you ever see Along Comes the Devil?
Yes, I did.
And that had the same problem where it's like, oh, the last 10 minutes of this movie are good and should have been the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yes.
And then you would have had something.
Yeah.
Instead of, an hour of bullshit and then 10 minutes of, oh, okay, now something's going on. Like, I don't know why this lesson hasn't been learned by filmmakers, that it turns out that you need characters and action to make a story.
I think we've said it before, the found footage thing specifically seems to be a way to shortcut that.
But the good ones still do it. Like,
this is I think when people see the good ones, what they assume is it's just friends, like, with cameras making a movie, as opposed to actually something created creatively where there's background, right? Their motivations for the reasons the characters have to act certain ways. I think a lot of people that make these kind of lesser quality found footage movies don't approach it that way. They approach it as in, here's our general story, this is kind of where we need to get to in this scene, and let's just riff on it. And that never works unless, once again, is the Blair Witch Project.
Right.
But where like you had, is little, lightning in a bottle. So I mean, that's, that's the difference.
And also, you knew those, like, by the end of that movie, you know the characteristic, like, those aren't just random people. It's like, oh well, Heather is very controlling, and Mike is a little bit of a scoundrel as it happens, and you know, but also just sort of desperate and rash in some of his actions. And
he's
stuff like
he's Hudson
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much, you know what I mean? Like, that's literally that's his role in that movie, and I kind of love it.
Right, and you also have those moments, like one of the best moments in the original Blair Witch is that moment where after like Chris has already disappeared and everything, and it's just them talking about like, oh, here's what I'm gonna do if we get back. You know, like having this kind of human moment where like, oh man, I'd mess up a cheeseburger right now. You know, that kind of that kind of stuff. And it right, like filmmakers take all the wrong lessons away from Blair Witch, which is that you can do something cheap and not show anything.
Well, I think the thing is, like, if anyone does any research on the filming of that, it was fucking arduous to film that movie. I think people just look at it from like a very kind of superficial perspective, that looks like that's really easy to do. We just grab some friends, bring them out into the woods and make noises in the background, sort it in post. And it's the wrong approach. And that's why I think the more consistently fail for me. But then the best ones are the ones that just do something like, don't even go necessarily for the scares. I told you, like, one of my favorites of recent times was Murder, Death, Koreatim, which is, if you've not seen it, highly recommend it. And it is the most simple premise. It's a guy who's out of work and a crime happens down the street from him, and he decides to film it, and the police won't let him get close to the crime scene or give him any information. And as the movie progresses, he essentially does like the story. He's filling in conspiracy on top of conspiracy as to what he thinks happened there, because he can't get information on it. He thinks that because he's got too much time, his relationship isn't going anywhere. He starts to build out this mythology of what he actually thinks is going on, and it's brilliant. It's like an hour and 15 minutes, and like it ends. It gives you, I think there's one scene where there's a kind of shock thing. It's surprisingly well done. But it's a great snapshot of, there are people like this online. And that's how it works for me. The guy who's the main character, completely believable, because I've seen people like that online. So
I need to watch that. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, there's a great found footage movie called Capture, Kill, Release.
I have seen it. We did that. Me and Baz did that a while ago. It's fucking great.
Very good, really good performances. Yeah. Like, again, one of those movies where it's like, oh, I could totally describe these characters, and
100%. That's the difference. Speaking of not being able to describe characters,
let's turn our attention to Slasher.
And let's turn our attention to anyone that told us that this season was going to be better.
Dude, that was look. Maybe that's what you heard. That is not how this was presented. This was just, here's how all this started. All right, let's just be real about this. It started,
are you about to do a hey, I guess you're wondering, how did I end up here?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I really am. So first of all, I because of the Cronenberg announcement that he was going to be in season 4, I actually watched the first episode or 2 of Slasher, sent it to you, was like, holy shit, this is bonkers. Yeah, and hilarious. And then you watch it, and you were like, "We ought to do this." And I was like, "What a great idea!"
We ought to mock this mercilessly because, but not thinking this was like as bad as it was going to get. Because TV shows tend to get better, bro. They don't tend to get worse. You know what I mean? You learn from your mistakes of the first season. You raise things up.
And so we decided at that point, foolishly, hey, well, we'll do all the early seasons leading up, and our grand finale, and here we are, is to do season 4 of Slasher, where Cronenberg shows up.
Because we both love David Cronenberg.
Yes.
And that on paper is fine.
It sounds like a reasonable idea.
Yes.
Up until you have to watch all of the seasons of Slasher and the individual episodes, and that brings us to season 4 episode 1, entitled Thicker Than Water.
Slasher season 4 is called what though? What was it dub for this one? Not Solstice.
No, it's it runs in the family business.
Family business.
No, it's not that. It's hold on.
running in the family.
It's We Are Family.
Yeah. See if Cronenberg had started singing "I've Got All My Sisters with Me," and like best thing ever.
He's got a sister. Flesh and Blood is the name of it.
Flesh and Blood.
Yeah. So.
No. Oh, dead.
All right. Let's get into this. Naturally, we start with the flashback because this is slasher after all.
Have to. 25 years ago, Bo.
Man, you're right. Like it truly is one of those things of like when I saw 25 years ago up here on the screen, I was like, oh right, slasher. It's been a while, old friend.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I'd forgot. Like, I know we joke about it a lot, right? But I've forgotten that every single season starts with a flashback.
Yeah,
and that was as soon as it like 25 years ago, I was like,
once again, we
just
play
like
a dangerous game. Yeah, it's.
But then I thought to myself, I thought Cronenberg's better be there straight away. No, they're gonna make you wait.
Yeah. He spent about 3 hours on set, but we'll get to that.
Spent about 3 hours getting his hair dyed. But like it's not even that though. Like we spoke about this before we went live here. Like I just want to stress this is 25 years ago, right? So this isn't like Solstice where they were like the previous year, so it looks natural that no one is really aged. This is 25 years ago, and everyone looks exactly the same fucking age as they do when the show kicks off, apart from the kids who are now grown up. But all the adults, literally all they've done is given them a different hat to wear, or their hair's slightly different, and that's apparently aging. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I've aged. You look at me 25 years ago, I look exactly the same, only a different hat.
Yeah.
And certainly the same hairline. Good Lord.
So yeah, so we're 25 years ago, and there's anarchy, Bo. There's people running in the dark.
Yeah, it's right. It's that Twilight Zone segment with Scatman Carruthers. Just a bunch of people running around at night. And it's Robin from previous slasher season.
Yeah, but not the previous one though. So
no, going back,
he wasn't in Solstice. He was off doing, I don't know, Broadway or something.
What is Canadian Broadway? Or would that
I have not a fucking. Alan will tell us. Alan, what is Canadian Broadway, and how can we view it online? But yeah, he was away clearly doing like Shakespeare in the Park or the Vagina Monologues or so. I don't know. He was away doing something like that for a year.
Why would he? All right, I'm not gonna poke at why he would be doing the Vagina.
Don't you dare try and put him in a box. That man has range. He's range.
That was the original title of the Vagina Monologues, was the Box Monologues, but they thought that was a little too crass.
Yeah, the box monologues. Subtitle: What's in the box? Question mark.
The Harry Clam monologues also didn't go.
It would be unfortunate if your name was Harry Clam. You know what I mean? Like imagine being called Harry Clam and having to go to school.
The only way that works is if you own a seafood restaurant on the coast.
Yeah. It's just like the image on all the stationery and letterheads is a little man in a boat.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like a little Gorton's fisherman. Yeah.
Fucking like money generating machine, this show. But yeah, so Robin's back. The woman, where did I know her from?
Is this
the redhead? The mother who is apparently had a dabbling as a lesbian. We'll get to that later on. The mother of the missing kid.
Right. Right. That is Florence.
What's she been
Sabrina Gurdovich is her name. She has been she was in AI. She was in Secretary.
Know what I'm thinking about?
She's
been in something I've seen recently because I instantly recognized her face and I was like, "That you're not a slasher alumni." So,
could it be the short, The Human Kazoo that you were watching, or
The Human Kazoo? I need to watch The Human Kazoo.
Sure, you do. Perhaps Total Recall 2070, the Canadian series.
No, like none of this is ringing a bell. She's been in something I've seen recently because I instantly knew who she was, and I instantly knew she hadn't been in Slasher before. So
I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
I
what
will
that
swap
would
places,
be.
and I will do the research while you're talking.
Okay. So we've got her, Florence and Robin. They're brother and sister. They're running through the woods at night. Robin steps into a bear trap, and is like, "Help me! Help me!" And Florence rolls by and is like, "Fuck you!" And keeps
literally
going.
like that as well. She's just like, aha. It's like just the happiest kind of, oh, my brother's lost his leg. Yay.
Yeah, steps on his ankle.
She makes sure that goes in.
Yeah. And is like, "Hey, I just want to compliment you on never giving up, but also you're fucked." And then they end up going to this little shack out in the middle of nowhere where there is a bar of gold on a pedestal like it's an Indiana Jones movie.
Yes.
And
it's
so
very much like, but no one has a bag to replace it with, which was their fault. Well,
so it's away. Grace, I think, the new wife, and Florence in there, and then Robin makes his way in as well. And they're like, "Well, should we just grab it?" And Florence
and
is
one
like,
of them, it might be booby trapped.
Right. She's like, "Go ahead, but you know our old David Cronenberg. He's a wily one." And so Grace grabs it, and it shocks her.
Yeah.
And then Robin shows up, and he's like, "Aha! The bar of gold is mine." Meanwhile, Florence is like, "Hey, weren't there some kids around a minute ago?
Aren't we parents?" Like,
right. And so she starts calling for her son Vincent.
Yeah.
But she doesn't find Vincent, she finds Theo, and Theo is the younger brother or the brother in this scenario. And she's like, "Where's Vincent, the son I like?" And
which we're going to get a lot of in this, by the way.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of throwing shade at Theo in this. And he's like, "Somebody took Vincent." And then credits. Then we get our typical slasher credits.
And Adam McDonald is back doing direction here. I don't know if he directed every episode or not, but he certainly directed the first one. So
yeah, I'll check here in a second. But Aaron Martin,
which once again, I am happy that he's making money because I really enjoyed Pyewacket, but I wish he'd make another movie and get away from here.
Yeah, so he definitely has directed the first couple,
right?
And Aaron Martin is, it looks like he's directing all of these, and Aaron Martin wrote the first one that we're watching, so that explains
a lot. Explains everything.
All right, so we cut back to the present day, and
no one is aged.
right. Robin's still looking great. Turns out he's married to Dawn. From the camp season, and also from Solstice, because she was Violet in that one, and she was terrible.
Yeah.
She was
I mean, as a hardcore Violet, but I knew straight away when she came on screen. I was like, yes, they brought back my Violet.
I'll tell you what, I am starting to become a fan of her as an actress.
She's great. She's like the 2 seasons that she's been in thus far, and the role she was given, she was the best thing. In both seasons. Like, she was like a horribly unlikable character in Solstice, but that was the design. And then, you know, in the second season, she was easily the most likable character in that. So even though she was a total bitch, like her kind of taking a kind of back. I'll be interested to see how it moves forward, but kind of taking a back role here. We find out that Robin is essentially Cronenberg's eldest son from his first marriage. So you would imagine, Bo, heir apparent to the Cronenberg throne.
Yeah, but that doesn't seem to be the case. And so what? All right, so Dawn and their daughter Liv. Liv is the house lady's daughter.
Liv's the other one.
Afra is her name.
Yeah.
So Dawn and Afra are both like, why are we going to this again? Because you hate your family and they're weird and we
Yeah.
think they suck too. So why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And Robin's like, well, you know, families are complicated and we got to go do this. You got to go kiss the ring and so forth.
I literally, this is like the conversation they're having is the same conversation I have anytime I'm invited for dinner at the in-laws. Like, it's exactly this. I'm just like, do I need to be there? I mean, if I wasn't there, would everything fall apart? And the wife's like, you kind of just have to do this. And then you go,
I mean,
smile, and then you come back with a headache.
Yeah,
a lesser opinion of the people you've had dinner with. So,
like, I think just it is the burden of every man that the parents of your significant other is always going to think that you're not good enough for them.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're really, really nice. They love me to bits, but it's just I'm not anti-sociable, but like to me, I'm like I could just have dinner here.
Right? Yeah, you're right. But you got to do.
You know what I mean?
You got to do.
You have to. I don't have to do it often. Like COVID spoiled me because in actual like the whole kind of lockdown thing spoiled me. That like we did not this year, the year before. We usually go Boxing Day, which is the 26th of December in the UK. I know you guys don't have Boxing Day, but Boxing Day we usually go to their house for dinner.
It's just not that popular a sport anymore.
And we did it digitally. Not this year, the year before, and it was like the best Boxing Day I'd had in about 15 years. So
all right.
But anyway, yeah. So like they're there, they look across, and then they have the woman who I do know her face, but she's been in things I've seen, but that's not how I know her.
Right. So Florence, the older sister,
yes,
or the younger sister, I think, and she's there with Vincent, who is her
Theo.
No, I'm sorry, you're right, Theo.
Yeah. Vincent's
missing. Yeah. And it's the memorial. It's the 25-year anniversary of
we're gonna get to the great unveiling. We're gonna get
that is the best part of the whole.
And we'll get howling with laughter, dude. Yeah. Honestly, I thought I was gonna piss my pants. But yeah, she's there with her. And she's got a daughter as well.
Yes, and I still don't know the daughter's name. I never got it through the whole episode, but clearly there's lesbian daughter.
Yeah, this is the thing. There's a reveal later on where she comes out as a lesbian, and her mother is shocked, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't judge people on appearances, but she's clearly giving you every indicator that she's not into men.
Right. Like the only thing that could be more lesbian is if she were driving a Subaru onto this dock. So
if she actually physically showed up to the boat with another woman on her face, is the only way that you couldn't pick up that she's a lesbian.
And the other person on the dock is Liv, who is the woman or the young woman who is the daughter of the housekeeper for this family.
Yeah, we're going to get a little bit of like just blasé exposition about why she's been invited back in a very nonchalant sort of way, which kind of made me go, huh?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? In that, like, she is also a child of Cronenberg. Cronenberg is just laying pipe, dude, honestly.
It's a real Thomas Jefferson kind of move here of
anything but a pulse, man.
Yeah. But yeah, so in my favorite part of this scene, they Robin and Dawn look up to discover that their daughter Afra is now eating paint. And I was like, I get it. That happens. But
she's a wee bit weird. She's a wee bit weird as well.
They say that she has pica.
Yeah.
Which I should have looked up and then didn't.
I mean, it's a rare disease you get from playing too much Pokemon Go.
Right. Pika.
See,
and
you got it.
So they have to like, oh no, don't eat paint. That's bad. That's what QAnon does. And then they get her. The boat shows up, and it's Wyatt from last season, our killer.
Yes,
or one of the killers from last season. And
pica disorder is. I actually should know this because pregnant women get it. It is eating or craving things that are not food.
Okay, well, she seems like that movie,
Swallow.
Swallow, yeah, which
Yeah.
also not
I
like
love
this
that
girl.
movie, so you
I do
hold your
too.
tongue.
No.
Yeah.
I do too. But I'm like, it seems like this girl has more problems than just Pika. Then.
Oh God, yeah. Like the other one, like in Swallow, that woman is carrying on a perfectly normal life, apart from the fact that she wants to eat things that are jagged. You know what I mean? This girl here is touched, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Touched, I think, is the Native American word for it. She was touched by God. But so they drag her off the paint when the boat shows up, and Wyatt is the boat captain. Speaking of laying pipe, we'll get back to him in a minute. And he's like, "Hey, sorry I'm late, everybody. I guess I was too busy fishing. Everybody on board." And you're like, "Oh God, this is." I hope he dies soon. Fingers crossed.
You don't. Well, Bo, ask and ye shall receive. That is Slasher's promise to you. To you only, not to me, because what I asked for was something that was watchable, and Slasher did not give me that.
No.
So.
And this is actually, Theo is not originally on the dock. He shows up at this point, and like he and Liv kind of give each other eyes to suggest like, oh, they're probably going to be a couple in this series, and who can possibly care?
Who could care, Bo?
So then we get to the real star of this, Duncan, which is David Cronenberg as
From the Back.
Yeah, and Grace, his new wife, is kind of fussing with his tie and that kind of thing. And she is talking to him about like who's running the company, and hey, there was this guy that works for you that ran up a bunch of money on his company card getting lap dances. And Cronenberg is like, "I'm not going to fire him, Grace. I fire people who don't perform."
Yes.
And she's like, "Yeah, but he was getting lap dances." And he goes, "I don't give a fuck about your PC bullshit, Grace."
Swears a lot. And this is, once again, this is Aaron Martin writing for David Cronenberg. He is fucking Canadian royalty. Show some goddamn respect in the script.
Yeah, which he does not.
No, God, no. Like, Cronenberg's lines are fucking awful.
And he is also throwing some shade at his own son that he had with Grace. What was his name again?
Is he the kid that played? Is he the kid that played Connor, or is that a different kid?
That's a fine question. I'm not entirely sure.
That's a rabbit hole right there.
Jaden is this kid's name. This is his first time. Yeah, Jaden Smith. This is his first rodeo in the world of slasher. But yeah, so this is like Cronenberg's son with his new wife Grace.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, he's going to run the company someday." And he's like, "We'll see about that."
It's literally what it is. It's like shifty side eye, and you do get a little bit of an explanation as to why there's some shifty side eye towards that kid later on when Cronenberg gives them all a dressing down in a glorious scene with bad dialogue.
And so that just establishes like Cronenberg is the head of this family, doesn't really seem to care much for said family.
It does not give a fuck. And to be honest with you, after meeting them like in the beginning and at the docks, I'm with Cronenberg. Hashtag I'm with Cronenberg.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Hashtag I am with Cronenberg. Absolutely. And so anyway, a boat shows up. Grace and Jaden go down to meet everybody getting off the boat. Wyatt, who is named Murrow in this, shows up as well, and Grace is like, "Hey, big guy, you want to join us for lunch?" And he's like, Nope. Fish are jumping. I'm gonna head down to the old boathouse, see if I can get that engine working, and I don't know if anyone wanted to mosey down there and get railed from behind. You know where to find me."
Although she shows up with a roll, and when she describes what's on the roll, my mouth filled with saliva. It sounded fucking delicious.
Yeah,
that is a sandwich right there, ladies and gents.
So Grace also is like, "Hey, Liv, nice to see you. By the way, why don't you get your poor ass in the kitchen with your mom, who is not only our housemaid, but is expecting you in the kitchen to help out, because if you're on this island, you're working."
Yeah.
And so Liv does. She goes to hang out with her mom, and her mom is like, "Why did you even come back here? This place sucks. This family sucks." Like,
So Liv's going to be the last character at the end of this show.
oh, for sure. Yeah,
100%.
Yes, she and Theo are the main characters. Like,
Yeah,
we are.
yeah.
Those are our people.
Yeah.
But her mom is like being a good mom and is like, listen, this job isn't a plan B for you. The fact that I've been working for this family for years, like, don't inherit the job that I'm doing.
Yeah, you get the indication that she's like our mum, and potentially help from Cronenberg is putting her through uni.
Yeah. And she's like, no, that's not why I'm back here. And then her mom is like, hey, you need to go change the sheets on my bed because we got booted to the servants' quarters.
Jesus Christ.
On account of all these rich assholes showing up and kicking me out of my bed. And Liv is like, are you fucking serious? And she's like, just be cool. Yes, they're a bunch of rich weirdos, but
yeah,
this is the life we have. So don't fuck with them. And so then we get to Wyatt at the boathouse working on this outboard motor. Beep, 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 beep. And then this is where Grace shows up and she's like, it's a turkey sandwich with pesto on focaccia, I think is.
Yeah, it's focaccia with avocado and something else. And my mouth I was like, I am so hungry right now. That sounds fucking amazing. And
yeah,
like this dickhead has one nibble and then it gets put to the side beside his dirty fucking engine.
Dude, it's not like he's like, my hands are dirty. Can you feed me like a dirty girl? And so she does. She like feeds him, and then he's like, "Oh, you got a little something on your finger. Let me just suck on your digits for a second."
Is that like? I know there's no women in the chat right now. Is that erotic to women?
Not to.
I understand.
Not to the women in my life.
I was going to say I understand the flip side on a guy.
Yeah.
Right. I understand how that works, you know, the sensation and all the rest. All right. So I get that. On a woman, though, it just seems like all you've done is given that woman a wet finger.
Should he have licked between her fingers? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying symbolism. Symbolism is, 9/10 of the act. So.
All right. Well, and so they fuck. They are clearly getting down. And as they're fucking, at one point, he's again just railing her from behind.
Yeah,
and is like,
he's like stops mid thrust. He's like, "Oh,
what's that?
Oh,
and he goes the exact line. God bless you, Aaron Martin. He goes, "I'm as nervous as a whore in church. I keep feeling eyes on me." And you're like, well, the fact that this guy hasn't won Emmys yet is a stunner.
Yeah. And also, like I'm feeling that there's like what risky doing this here with the whole family being on the island, but it's probably why she's getting off on it. But then we get the reveal of who it's Pikachu who's peeking out. Kind of going
Pika, fucka.
So our Pika disorder suffering child is the one that's actually watching them fuck, for lack of a better word.
All right, and so
get back to it, but they get back. They get me like they stop for a second. She's like, just put it back in. She duly does and continues on.
Doesn't stop them for long. So then we go back to Florence, who is helping herself to some of the booze at the family house.
Like, see if you walk into a room, right? If it's a hotel room or it's it's a family room, and this is the room you're given, that you walk in and there's already a drinks cart out there with nice alcohol in it. You pour yourself a drink. I don't even care if it's 9 a.m. You pour yourself a drink, Bo. You can finally unwind. Vacay mode has kicked in.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Theo, to his credit, is like, why are we taking over the room of Liv and her mom? Why don't we just sleep on the floor?
Yeah.
And Florence is like, because you are Galloways.
Yeah.
And Galloways do not sleep on the floor. And she's like, by the way, Theo, what are you even doing here? You haven't been to a reunion in 5 years.
Yeah.
And Theo is like, well, you know, it's the 25th anniversary of Vincent's kidnapping. I wanted to be here for this. And
she somehow pivots this to, oh, you're just doing this for yourself, just to make yourself feel better. And I was like, that's literally what you're doing.
Yeah.
Fucking Hackett face crow. Like, there's literally what you're doing as well. In fact, if anything, you transgress more than him, because we're about to see your art installation. You know what I mean? Like, at least he showed up dressed sensibly. And they two like look like they're about to have a little bit of a back and forth. And that's when Child, whose name we don't know.
O'Keefe is her name.
O'Keefe.
Yeah. And so O'Keefe kind of busts in and is like, by the way, I'm gay. Just
O'Keefe, Theo, and Vincent.
Yeah.
Are the three.
So it's I think we're doing painters here is what we're doing.
Well, because she's an artist.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm dating a girl. You know, it's going real well just now. We have literally been sleeping together every single night for the last 2 months. And the mother's like, Florence is like, oh, what? You're dating a girl? And I'm like, oh no.
Well, for a second she does that, and then she pivots to cool mom mode, where she's like,
she pivots it's not cool mom mode. She pivots to, I'm going to steal the limelight because my daughter's getting all the attention. She's an absolute fucking bitch, right? I hate people that do this. Every family has this person. Like, every family has this person where someone comes in with legitimately good news, something that people want to celebrate around, and there's someone in the group that's like, I need to make this about me.
Yeah.
But her way of doing it is to go into graphic detail about all the vaginas she was slamming when she was at college in front of her 2 kids, Bo.
That's the weirdest part. Well, the part that makes it terrible. It's one thing to be like, because she starts off with like, whoa, you just need to have her over sometime. I'd love to meet her and things like that. That's all fine.
Yes, of course it is.
But as soon as she's like, oh, I've eaten a little box myself in college, that's the point where you're like, you're oversharing. It reminds me of that time I got high with my mom, and it was like, oh, this is wrong. I don't like any of this. This is familiar in a way that a parent and child should never be.
We were at last year. We were at my nephew's communion, and my mum was there, and I've drank with my mum before, like, but not often, and not to any degree of excess. And like she I think I bought her a bottle of wine, and she had a bottle of wine there, and she tore in a bit, and then she started giving me like family secrets to the family that we don't speak to, like anymore. Like, there's a whole side of my family I don't speak to at all, because I've no indication or inclination, sorry, to want to speak to them. And then my mum started giving me like hardcore like details of all the ways he'd fucked up in the past, and I was just like, and I wasn't drunk enough. This wasn't like Duncan's drunk enough that he'll forget this in the morning. I was like, this is now seared in my brain. Like, if there's ever any reconciliation there, I've got too much knowledge now. Like, so the best way to do it is just never to speak to them again. So make sure that bridge is well and truly burned.
Yeah, I mean, literally burn the house down.
Oh God,
never speak again.
Nuke it from a great height. And
it's the only way to be sure.
Yeah. So she gives all this information out. She does her usual like oversharing, steal the limelight, and we know that O'Keefe is gay.
Right. And so then we cut over to Murrow, aka Wyatt.
Yeah.
Who is
fixing that engine. Well, fair play to him. You know, post sex, the last thing I want to do is complicated mechanics.
Right. Yeah, it's like, where is the sandwich now? That's what you want.
I want that roll.
Yeah.
I want to sit down beside the water, a cup of coffee, and I'm living the high life right now.
And just think about I came. Wasn't that wonderful? Yeah. Wasn't that great, everybody? But instead, he gets right back to work, and then he starts seeing something moving around.
Yeah, like, because he's like, damn, woman, I just gave you sweet loving 5 minutes ago.
Right.
The worst line.
He thinks it's Grace again.
Who does does that as well. Like I got away from my family to bring you like a sandwich and be railed, and then 5 minutes later, I've managed to sneak away from the family again to get railed a second time.
Before we continue, I just want to point out that Boomer in the chat has said this season starts kind of promising and then gets worse.
Boomer, we think that this first episode is bad.
Yeah, it's not. It ain't that promising. Anyway,
no, this is fucking bad. Yeah. Right?
The Aaron Martin promise is this is gonna suck and you're gonna feel bad about yourself.
Episode 1 is the dizzying highs, which, like, as soon as I just said that there, my testicles retracted and went inside me really fast.
All right, so he stops the engine that he's fucking with and actually says, again, an Aaron Martin classic, "Fuck me with a chainsaw," and starts bouncing around inside this boathouse looking for, whoever is creeping around.
Yeah.
And then somebody just throws this big-ass hook on a chain at his noggin.
Pinhead appears. Oh, hello there, Wyatt. I've finally found you. You opened the engine. I came. Yes. I have such sights to show you in this boathouse. It is my hook. We are going to have some fun gutting you like you gutted that fish earlier. Ha ha! Now I must leave here because this is not my show. And as I do these things, I realize that I am not great at ad-libbing lines for Pinhead. Bye, everyone.
You ate the focaccia and we came.
He gets a hook on a giant chain which has no practical, maybe for lifting engines. Maybe that's what it's there for.
Or whatever. But yeah,
maybe. So somebody it's fucked off his head and then it's put through his chin. And then, like he's a character in fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre, he's then drawn up. So he's hanging by his jawbone.
Mm-hmm.
And then the killer, who might be Connor from the previous season, like the stabbing in this show is like remember when that guy's dick was stabbed?
Mm-hmm.
Remember when we stabbed Joe's cock like a million times? That's kind of what happens to the chest of Quint.
Then we get the to gut him.
Guts him like a fish.
Yeah,
to physically guts him like a fish. And Lord Pinhead is back. You're welcome. And then that's the end of him. So, this is what sprung to my mind straight away is we are just rehashing season 2 here.
Well, yeah, go back to the hits. Yeah.
Yeah, well, season 2, the guy who takes them to the cabin, the guy that owns the shop, is the first death.
You're right.
And doesn't he get fucked with a chainsaw?
He does.
There you go. So we're just rehashing season 2.
Aaron Martin has one idea, which is
the old Aaron Martin playbook. It has one page and one idea.
What if flashbacks and people getting split open?
So yeah, he's gone. No one will miss him.
And again, credit where it's due. The one strength of slasher is that
special effects are great.
When it gets bloody, it's really gross.
It's all practical.
Yeah,
it's all practical, fun. And it looks great.
Yeah,
they will ruin this with a CGI effect that doesn't make sense. It doesn't work at the end of the episode, but this one here works fine.
So we go back to Dawn and Robin, who are touring around the house.
Yeah,
and Dawn is getting all excited because Jaden, the son, is kind of giving this story of like, oh, well, this is a painting of this haunted tree, and the guy that owned this house was buried in the basement. And Dawn's like, this is so exciting. I brought a Ouija board, and we can do a seance later. And Robin, meanwhile, is like, this is bullshit. Yeah. This house is A, not haunted, and B, I'm bored.
Yeah.
And finally,
it's only haunted by the high expectations that Duncan and Bo had for this season.
Yeah.
Clinging to the walls.
Yeah, if you listen closely, you can hear the sounds of wailing. That is Duncan and Bo realizing there are 7 more episodes.
How did you spend your 2021 watching slasher season 1 to 3? Why would you ever do that? Because season 4's got David Cronenberg. Oh no.
Yeah. He's got a cameo.
Yikes.
So Jaden finally is like, hey, I'm going to leave you two to argue amongst yourselves. I'll see you later. And after he takes off, Dawn is like, he's a nice guy. And Robin's like, that motherfucker. He is like, he's a backstabber and, you know, trying to basically claim my place in the family. Mm-hmm. And Dawn is kind of sticking up for Jaden at this point. She's like, he's not that bad a guy. If you get to know him, he's not terrible.
Yeah, although we will once again, in classic slasher fashion, within 10 minutes of this, you know, Dawn's going to 180 on that.
Well, all right. So immediately Afra shows up.
Yeah.
Ed is like, I don't like it here. I want to go home. And Robin says, like, all right, well, honey, come into the bedroom and I'll sit you down and we'll calm down and you can tell me all about what happened. Mm. And he basically just tells Dawn to, like, hey, how about you blow? I'm going to hang out with our daughter and calm her down. I don't really give a shit what you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Dawn takes off. And anyway, so we get a moment with Liv making up the bed in the room where Theo is going to be staying.
Yep.
And he comes in, walks in on her, and is like, look, this wasn't my idea. I don't need this room. And Liv is like, no, your step grandmother would never allow it. Like, Grace is big on propriety. And here we get a bit of backstory on Liv where you're like, what now?
Yeah, like out of nowhere. Like literally out of nowhere.
Where Theo is like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, everybody in the family was real concerned when you were in the military and were stationed in Iraq. And while you were stationed over there, we were all kind of on pins and needles hoping everything was going to be okay. And she's like, okay, I'm going to go get towels. And you're like, what?
So what we're gonna, like, once again setting her up with the template of she's gonna survive this because she's seen shit.
Right, she's got military training. Again, she and Theo, well, I could be wrong about this, but she and Theo are definitely our final couple of all of this.
She, like, I don't know about, like I would like, Theo's been presented that way. Liv is definitely surviving this, like 100%. Absolutely no way she isn't. She is our final girl. But so we cut away from that scene because we need to do as many cuts away from family interactions that gleam nothing except like superficial introductions to things that may have an effect on things.
Well, yeah, this is a thing we need to know. Also, Boomer correctly saying Aaron Martin has the Vince Lombardi mindset. Just use one play and eventually it'll work. Hadn't yet, but fingers crossed.
Season 5.
All right, so this is one of the highlights of the episode.
This is a chef kiss moment.
Yeah. This and Cronenberg teen off on the whole family are the good moments here. But the
highlights of this episode. This is the reason that I would love to say it has justified our 3-season trek. It hasn't.
No.
But it made up for the overall disappointment in this first episode.
So Florence has the family gathered while she reads a poem at a memorial for the lost son Vincent that is currently covered up by a tarp.
Yeah.
And she's reading her poem, and it's like, you know, oh, pointy bird, oh, pointy, pointy, anointy me. But it's all about eggs and the fruit of loins and shit like that. And then she whips off the canvas.
Yeah.
Or the tarp. And it is just this monstrosity of
it's
bullshit.
It's the totem from Hellraiser 3.
Yeah, with a couple of dolls glued onto it and stuff.
Which is the totem from Hellraiser 3. Like, it's like literally, like, once again, Pinhead's in there, got that, you know, the box. You know, we must have, like, I can't wait for CD Cenobite to arrive in this movie. Oh, this is the wrong film. Oh, this is a TV show. I have been grossly miscast here. I will leave you again. Goodbye. It's horrible. It's fucking horrible. And not only is it horrible, but then her grand finale is to take 2 eggs and smack them off her legs to crack them. Which, by the way,
it's on her belly. It's like her womb.
Yeah. She cracks these eggs. She also does not change because at the dinner table, she's still wiping off egg. And I'm like, that fucking change before dinner. Jesus Christ. But anyway, she cracks these eggs, and then we were talking about this off air.
Yeah.
I have never heard David Cronenberg laugh.
It's like chilling.
And we hear it here, and it is horror. Like it's like it is the most like there is no joy, there is no life. It's it's if a computer laughed.
Yeah.
That's the noise. It's literally he's like he's just ha 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 ha.
But like everyone else is real somber, and he just starts, cackling in his.
Oh, he slapped his thigh and everything.
Yeah.
This is the funniest shit he's seen in a long time.
And so Grace is like, let me just get you out of here because you cannot hold your shit together for this. But as they're walking away, he just goes, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Which is pretty good.
It's a great line. Once again, does Cronenberg need to swear? No, he has a huge vocabulary and a massive intellect. We could have picked up, like another word, but Aaron Martin has decided that he is Tarantino and everyone must say fuck. Well, when I say everyone, David Cronenberg might be the only character that swears more than once in this episode, and I think he says fuck like 10 times. Like he's doing a Limp Bizkit song. It's the weirdest fucking thing ever. He's once again a character that I've never heard swear before. Like an actor, a director, never heard him swear before. I've seen plenty of interviews with him, never swore.
Yeah.
But in this, he's making up for lost time, Bo.
Aaron Martin, you should be ashamed of yourself. Anyway.
Hang your head in shame.
So we cut to the next best scene of the episode.
Yeah, we're putting them right beside each other because that's how long we had Cronenberg, right?
And honestly, I gotta say, if someone asked me if they should watch Slasher season 4, I would be like, watch these two scenes, and that's all you need. Yeah, this is literally all you need to watch. But yeah, he's got them all around the table. They're all being kind of pithy to each other, and then he decides to do the ding, 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 ding. I'm going to make a toast. Ding, 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 and then drops the mother of all bombshells on the family. Right, he's just like, I just want to let everyone know I'm about to die. And they're like, the what? The fuck? And he's like, that's right. It's stage 4 lung cancer. I'm dying all to hell. I'm sick as shit. And fuckity fuck. Fart, cunt, fuck, sick. So, and he's like, also, I should point out, this is going to be my last cock-sucking weekend on Earth. Yeah. Yeah, not only is he about to die, but he means he is like this weekend he's about to die. And let me introduce to you Mistress Wu. Yeah. This is Dr. Trin. She is good at killing old fuckers like myself. Yeah, let me just introduce Dr. Death. Yeah. This is as soon as she come on screen, Bo, I was like that. She's the killer, right? Yeah. Now, I might be wrong. I don't have anything to back this up with. And I want to stress this. This is a theory based on nothing. But as soon as he says to her in the next scene, I think it is, basically, you need to oversee these games. Which is a huge responsibility to give to your euthanasia nurse. You know what I mean? Who seems to know all the intricate details of the family because she says something specifically later on about inheritance or something or will, and she's privy to all the fucking details. She's a trained fucking assassin, Bo. she is familiar with Mortal Kombat. I hope I'm wrong because I don't want to guess the killer in the first episode because there is literally no dimensions to any of these characters yet to formulate that. But as soon as she was introduced, and the fact she walks in dressed like an assassin and not a nurse. I like this theory. I don't know that I agree with it yet, but I like it. And I'm totally on board with it until proven otherwise. I don't think. I mean, she's standing behind Cronenberg, and a fly is in the distance flying past, and she picks up a toothpick and throws it across and stabs it in the wall. She's that fucking deadly. Yeah, somebody drops their knife, and she grabs it before it hits the floor. Yeah, she's like, Dr. Trent, you're quite good.
Anyway. You know, like, so, like, yeah, he's like, you know, I'm dying. I'm going to die by euthanasia.
Yeah.
Here is Dr. Trin, who comes in, and everyone's like, "What the actual fuck, Dad?" And he's like, "Yep, I know." And
Florence actually interrupts, is like, "Can I just say something?" And he goes, "I'll tell you, Florence, you can shut the fuck up." How about that?
We're doing more F-bombs. Yeah. More F-bombs. But he shuts her down and he's like, listen, we used to, I don't know if you remember the flashback at the start of this episode, we used to do family games on this island every single year up until 25 years ago when Vincent, my poor sweet Vincent, went missing. And I always thought we'd find him or we'd have closure on this, but we're not having closure on this because, well, we will. But bear with us.
So at this point, Duncan, after our technical failure,
seamless technical failure, bro.
We are back at the point where David Cronenberg is letting everybody know he's gonna die, and when people start to get a little feisty, here's what I'm hoping for, that at the end of my life I reach a point where I'm like, well, I'm just gonna tell everybody what I think of them.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what he does here.
It's a real, you know what your problem is sort of moment.
Yeah, so aside from his hired assassin, Dr. Trin, on the side...
I'm telling you, Dr. Death more like.
He's like, you know, as you were pointing out before we were so rudely interrupted by, you know, technology, that he's like, hey, we're going to play this game that we played 25 years ago where I have you do a bunch of fucked up stuff and dance on puppet strings for my amusement, and whoever wins is going to get, you know, all my money. And the rest of the family is like, the fuck? And
yeah, like his new wife is like particularly livid because she's put time in with Cronenberg, who doesn't appear to be the easiest guy to live with, on the whole kind of premise that it's coming, like the fortune goes to her because she's the widow and the son takes over the business affairs, and that's what they call in the business world a checkmate.
Yeah, well, all right, so he gives her shit about that. Robin gets it for being, as he puts it, a man-child.
Yeah.
And then tells Florence, who he laughed at for unveiling her hideous sculpture, tells her, I've seen better art in a toilet bowl.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great line. It's a great line, the old toilet bowl line. Jaden, by the way, lost, what was it, 5 million on a trade?
Well, he says he lost it in a wave, is what he says. Right. Like he lost a big $5 million ship, and Cronenberg is like, I was in shipping, Fart Blossom, or whatever Martin calls him, and he's like, I'm in shipping, so I know how much this shit costs. You were clearly skimming off the top.
Yeah.
And so he says, for the first time in your motherfucking lives, all of you are gonna have to earn your fucking keep. And so they're gonna have to compete in all these games to get his money. And he says, oh, by the way, this is all gonna start in 2 hours.
Yeah, he's given the clock has started. Things are getting ready to go. Cronenberg has laid down the law. I love it. There's a couple of small bits of Cronenbergian rage here, which is kind of amazing. Where there's like a full on shout, and he is quite intimidating for an old man. Like he really is.
Yeah, oh for sure. But so he strolls off to go die, and then later on, after this goes down, Robin is telling Dawn, you know, he's like, oh, I'm a failure. I get that from my father. Like I can never be what he wants me to be, and that kind of thing. And to her credit, she's like, no, you're a good dude, and you're better than your father tells you. Yeah. So you just say, like, keep your head down, keep focused. Like, we can get through this. So Dawn once more, seeming like the one with a head on her shoulders, unlike the previous season.
Well, she 100% is, because the next time we see her is when the games are starting, and she's a picnic blanket and a bottle of wine. Yeah. And I'm like, Dawn has the right idea here. She's like, this is your crazy family shit, I'm not getting involved with this. I've got some vino with me. I've got a nice blanket here. Go knock yourself out climbing up that fucking rope.
Yeah, it turns out this is a whole big satchel and none of my business. And I hope you win, but also I don't care.
Yeah.
And so then Grace is telling Jaden all about, like, I can't believe that you're not inheriting this. I've been with him all these years. How dare he not give me this money? And Jaden, to his credit, is like, hey, my dad's about to die. Like, I'm more upset about that.
Yeah, that little nugget of information that we found out just 10 seconds ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he literally has the Grim Reaper behind him. Dr. Trin is the Trin Grim Reaper, like, hovering behind him. So, yeah, it's like, and Grace is like, I know, but, money. And is this where we get the... So the
housekeeper is the next scene where Cronenberg's laying on bed with, like, a cold rag on his forehead.
I'm getting ready to shuffle off this mortal coil.
Yeah.
And she walks in and she's like, see, when you said that this competition is open to all descendants, do you mean all descendants, i.e. our dirty secret love child? And he's like, well, because this is what I mean. Like, this character, the Liv character, we've like literally just found out of nowhere, did a tour in Iraq. And also, by the way, she is the fruit of Cronenberg's loins. Like, just...
surprise! Yeah.
Hello. And Cronenberg's like, yeah, everyone! And she's like, right, cool. So she goes away to prep Liv, a.k.a. our final girl. And he's kind of lying there just like, so kind of stressed here. And then we get the whole kind of setup of Dr. Trin, who comes like walking in to the sim track of icicles being dropped to the ground. That's how fucking scary she is. She's like fucking the cold-handed death. She's like, has all the grace of like a Dementor from Harry Potter. Just like everything withers when she's walking past it. And she walks up and he's like, listen, I've made up my mind on this. You need to be here. You need to be all over this. You need to make sure they play by the rules and play my game and all the rest. Oh, and by the way, this cannot hurt me. like what we're about to do here with this jag to kill me, I don't want to feel any fucking pain. I don't want any of that shit. I just want to just close my eyes and that's me done. Right? Do you understand what I'm saying? And she's like, yep, sure thing. And he's like, I mean, I'm just saying, fart shit cunt. You need to make sure that I feel no pain at all. I want to transition slowly, peacefully, and calmly to the next phase of my existence. And Dr. Death is totally like, yeah, that's totally a thing that's going to happen. Looks at the camera, winks at the audience.
Wink. Yeah.
Twists our fucking evil moustache whilst looking at the camera. She might be innocent. I might just be putting this whole backstory on her, which is needless. When we find out the next episode, she's fucking Good Samaritan. Like pulled a drowning puppy out of a toilet, you know what I mean? This sort of thing. And I've painted her as like the most evil woman in the planet. But yeah, like she sets him up with a drip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a cocktail of like sedatives that are just going to put him to sleep and then stop his heart.
Yeah, and like all is good in the world of Cronenberg. He's happy. He is going to leave here in no pain at all. Probably taking all the evil sins and all the names of all the people he murdered with his bare hands in a boardroom to his grave with him. So,
well, and he also, like, when he's about to take the midnight train to hell, she's like, you could live for a couple of more years, maybe.
You could get some chemo.
Right, and he's like, fuck that shit. I'm done. I'm ready to go.
He's like that. Have you seen these fuckers in my house? Like, why would I want to spend like even a second longer with these horrible people?
So she gives him the drip, and he just kind of lays back in bed and closes his eyes, and she's like, do you want me to stay with you? He's like, get the fuck out of here.
Administer the game, woman.
Yeah. And, all right, so a little bit of flashback business here as well.
Need some flashback, but we've hardly had any flashback in this episode.
Right, just the one. And so when when Florence is talking to O'Keefe and Theo
Mm-hmm.
about the fact, like, she's pissed off at just like everybody that she's just not getting a cut of this money, that she's got to, play this screwed up game.
Yeah.
That Theo, much like Jaden was, is like, there is no reason to fight about all this stuff. Like, we should just be with him in his last days and
Yeah.
enjoy that. Like, who cares about the money? And Florence is like, that's just what I would expect out of you. She's like, you don't want to do shit just like you didn't do shit when your brother got kidnapped.
Like, out of nowhere, she left fields them with this. Like, this is like a sneaky right hook.
Yeah, and all right, so then we get this flashback where it's
Cronenberg has hair dye. We need to just address that right now because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, he like some Rudy Giuliani style black hair dye.
Also, like, David Cronenberg has, like, 25 years ago, David Cronenberg had grey hair.
Right. Yes.
So what the fuck are we doing? Like, I think he says he's like 80 or 90.
Mm-hmm.
In this, he's in his 80s or something, I think is what he says in the show. So that would put him in his 60s, maybe early 60s. It is totally acceptable to have grey hair.
Maybe in this story, he can't accept it. He just can't accept it. But yeah, like everyone has black hair dye, and the children, all the women, they're all just like greasy black hair dye. Mm-hmm. And it's Cronenberg announcing the game we saw at the beginning of the episode, where he's like, I have this fucking $80,000 bar of farting gold cockabooty, and you're gonna go after this. By the way, there's a moment where Robin gives Flo some shit about, like, well, last year you slipped. You thought I asked you for aspirin and you gave me sleeping pills. Which,
like, shows you the level of this game, right? Like, this is like, like drugging each other, and we saw in the flashback at the start of this episode, standing on a bear trap once it's already in your ankle. So this is like fucking like serious shit. But Vincent and Theo are running about the place playing with swords. Specifically, I think it's Vincent's trying to quote unquote kill Theo. Mm-hmm. And Theo's like, no, get away. And he comes over to speak to his mum, who tells him it's obviously a fake toy. It's a toy. It's not a real sword. And then you get a great Cronenberg thing about, let's get these brats out of here. Yeah. His grandkids.
Yeah, right. He doesn't give a shit. Like, he doesn't care about his kids, much less their kids. So, so he gets pissed off, and the housekeeper is like, okay, boys, why don't you go to the beach, get me some shells. I want you to get me a pretty one, and you to get me a big one. Yeah. Kind of gets him out of his hair, his greasy black hair. And as soon as they leave, we realize that Vincent is kind of a shitty kid.
Vincent's a dick, right? Like an absolute dick. Clearly, his mum's favourite, and clearly gets away with murder. Or does he, Bo? This could be a. So
he calls Theo a pussy a bunch.
Yeah. And it's a small kid.
Yeah, and like throws rocks at him and stuff, and ends up like running off to the beach, even though Theo's like, it's getting kind of dark and getting late, maybe we should go back. And he's like,
the last thing we'd want is like a dinghy to appear in the distance with two balaclava weird men who will steal you. I mean, that's what happens at night time. Maybe we should go back to the house.
Right. And Vincent's having none of it, and Theo reluctantly kind of chases after him. And so sure enough, they get to the beach, and
this is a head scratchingly dumb.
Yeah, and as you said,
of all the places a boat could come upon shore on this island that apparently David Cronenberg owns, so fucking, which is in itself just ridiculous. But he owns this island, and the boat lands right where the kids are, and they actively target Vincent because Theo tries to get involved and he gets pushed away, and they just pick him up, fling him in the dinghy, and
off they go. Yeah, and kind of punch Theo. By the way, Theo takes a punch to this kid, gets rocked in the jaw
by a thug.
Yeah, which is the most enjoyable part of the whole episode for me. And gets his bell rung, and then when you cut back to the present, Florence is telling Theo, like,
Oh, she's still at it. She's like, he's relived this whole horrible scene in his brain when she started talking, and now he's finished that flashback just to come in at the best bit where his mum's like that. I wish it had been you instead of him.
There isn't a day that goes by that I don't think that you're a piece of shit and should have been kidnapped, and sweet little Vincent should be here with me.
Sweet, innocent, little Vincent should have been here. And I was like, geez, that's harsh.
Yeah. And so Theo reasonably starts packing up his shit. Yeah. He's like, fine, I'll take off. Like, I don't care about anybody in this family. This is how I'm going to be treated. I'm
going to get the boat off this island, assuming that the boat driver is still alive.
Right. As long as good old Wyatt hasn't been killed after eating a delicious focaccia sandwich.
And railing my stepmother.
Yeah.
And, or step-grandmother.
Liv finds him in his room and is like, hey, everybody's kind of getting together for this first challenge. And he's like, I don't care about that. Like, I'm taking off. These people are all terrible. And she's like, no. You need to think about your family as a whole. Like, I watch how you operate. And you're kind of the peacekeeper. You're the person that keeps everybody together. Like, Florence is a nut. O'Keefe is doing her thing. Like, you're kind of the glue that's holding everybody together. And also, I know if you win all this money, you're going to look out for everybody in the family. And give everybody a cut, as opposed to, Florence or Robin or whoever.
It's the Knives Out scenario, isn't it? Isn't it? It's like literally any of these cunts in the family of Knives Out get that money. No one else is getting the money. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And she asked him point blank, like, if someone else wins, what happens to everybody else in the family?
Yeah.
And so this kind of convinces him. Then we get, sadly, as Cronenberg is lying in bed waiting for the drugs to take effect, and
can we just stress here, Aaron Martin, you have David Cronenberg, one of history's great clinical minds in cerebral terror, a guy who sardonically I think he enjoys acting because it gets him a chance to play kind of weird and wonderful character pieces. But David Cronenberg, not only have we never heard him laugh, but he's not the most emotional person ever. So to have him in this scene is fucking ridiculous. Like, this was one of the most head-scratching things I've seen ever in slasher. Like, everything I've ever seen in slasher, I could not get my head around this, because he sees his first wife, who, by the way, looked very old. Just everyone looks fucking old in this TV show. And I thought to myself, is that what... Like, I'm not in with this deal if when I die at, let's say I die at 80, like, what I want to, if I'm going to another plane somewhere, I want to be back in my prime. You know what I mean? I don't want to be, I don't want to be, like, in the next plane of existence, crippled with arthritis, a bad back. You know what I mean? All that shit. But he's like, his wife comes in and he's like, oh, is that you? Edith or whatever her name was, some old name, Maureen, and she's like,
Annette is her name.
Yeah, Annette, which is, once again, it's an old name. And he's like, is that you? And you've come here after all these years to help me join you in the next plane of existence. I'm so happy. And then it starts to kind of dissolve, and we get our first kind of proper look, although not full on, of our killer. Weird costume.
Kind of a being honest, mask and a top hat kind of scenario. It's really strange.
It doesn't work. But anyway, this person comes around and he's like, oh, what are you doing? Like, what is this? No, I don't think you're supposed to put that syringe in there. I'm like, just no lines, Cronenberg. No lines. The medication has numbed you. Like, right, so you can't speak. Oh, no, please, don't do. I don't think you're supposed to do that. And essentially what we're led to believe here is that acid is injected from a syringe that would have melted, but we'll get past that, into the tube. And then it melts. Once again, this doesn't make sense. It melts the outer skin, the rib cage, so we can see the heart, and then it melts the heart. That's not how that works, right? I don't know if Aaron Martin understands this. It would be the other way around. Plus, your heart doesn't burst into fire when it meets acid. You know what I mean? It doesn't become its own, like, hot coal.
His heart is a Mogwai. He got a Mogwai heart transplant.
Yeah, it's a bright light, bright light. But it's such a, and the CGI for all slasher does well with its kills. The CGI is fucking shit in this scene. It looks cheap. It's not a great effect. I don't know what it adds. You know what I mean? Him dying that way, I don't know what that. He could have certainly pretended to have a heart attack. I would have been fine with that. You know what I mean? And it's not as if you can hide this as like an accident or natural causes. So if that's the case, you might as well just chop his fucking head off, right? Or go vicious. This is the thing that just doesn't make any sense to me at all. But also, syringe, understanding of how things set up, Dr. Death. This is where I'm coming in with this one. It just looked like there was like a really... How many of those people back there do you think, one, knew he was going to be... No one knew he was going to be committing suicide, that there was going to be a euthanasia nurse there, right? That they would just so happen to have a syringe and acid to kill him. It's a doctor.
Yeah. I see your point, but also it's just a syringe.
Slasher.
It's just and slasher. Also, like, I've got some... I got plenty of syringes in my bathroom right now on account of the heroin.
Yeah, well, I mean, didn't want to bring up on the recording, but neither we have. This is time to stage an intervention, Bo. We all love you.
I like riding the horse, man. It's what I like.
Yeah, but Cronenberg dies in immense pain.
Yes.
Which was not what I wanted.
Right. He does not get the easy out that he had hoped for. He gets taken to the Sizzler. And And so unfortunately, he's gone now. Yeah, will only ever be seen in flashbacks now. Yeah, but I hope... And you've got to think he wouldn't dye his hair. Just for a 1 minute scene. Turns out that's actually the best CGI of the show. But the worst thing is we're going to get like a whole lot of bad hair dye Cronenberg moving forward, and I don't know if I can take him seriously with that hair. So the one thing I'm hoping for is that every episode has Cronenberg just ripping into somebody in a flashback, and that would make me happy. Well, that would make sense. You know, you would set up the person that's going to die, which is the slasher kind of trope. But yeah, so Cronenberg's now dead, and then we jump to what is presumably the first test, which is basically climb a rope. You're right. It's a feat of strength. And Dawn and the housekeeper are both just kind of hanging out watching all this, which I really love, like you said. Bottle of vino. Yeah, this is exactly how you do it. This is like, I'm doing nothing but I'm continuing the drink on from dinner. A cruel thing to do as well. You've just had a dinner where your dad's told you he's going to die. You're all stuffed, and then you've got to climb a rope. Yeah. And then Dr. Trin is like, hey, everybody, it's time for the first feat of strength. Is everybody here? Yeah. And as soon as... Someone wearing a hood, Bo. Right, this dude strolls up, and what we are soon to discover is that Vincent are missing, has been missing for 25 years. Vincent has shown up just in time. And like Theo and Vincent stare at each other, and the whole episode ends with Theo saying, Vincent? And that's it. It's stupid ending. Yeah. Yeah. It's not a good ending. I mean, it raises so many questions. Like, because my theory was that maybe as soon as they were doing the 25-year thing, my theory was that Cronenberg was behind the abduction. Which could still be true. Yeah. But then it has no impact if he's dead now. You know what I mean? Unless he's just like, this is him kind of getting his revenge from beyond the grave or something, where he's pulling the strings and kind of orchestrating this chaos, and maybe, but then why would he, like, because he's like, there's so many details. Because if he's not behind it, if he's not behind it, and no one else in the family is behind it, and he's just been, was kidnapped, escaped, and then living an existence, what are the odds that he would come back to the island the day they'd be doing this? It's just... Yeah, I mean, right. It's... I mean, we'll see where all of this goes, and
Sadly, yes, we will.
and I'm going to at least allow for the moment that there is a way to kind of bring all this together in a way that could be kind of interesting, because the idea of like, oh, here's this kid that got kidnapped 25 years ago, and surprise, here he is again. There's something kind of inherently like, oh, okay, well, that is
Operation Red Herring.
Right, well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he arrives back on the island. This is the first time we've seen him, and oh, by the way, 2 characters are now dead. I mean, it's total red herring, but it's so obvious, blatantly a red herring that it's not him.
So
it's the Doctor.
All right, so let's just get to quick theories. So right now, your theory is that the killer is Dr. Trent.
She's at least the killer of Cronenberg.
Okay.
Just because of the like I say, no one knew that. Otherwise, all those scenes that we've seen don't make any sense of them all being shocked and having conversations about the money and all the rest. There's only one person out with Cronenberg that knew that it was going to be essentially assisted death, and that is the Doctor. And that's the only way that makes sense to me. Also, like the whole gutting of someone, you would assume the Doctor has a sense of anatomy. Maybe that makes sense. I don't know. Maybe I'm stretching for that one. Yeah. Plus, she feels like an ominous, like I said, like she showed up dressed in fucking black, like a ninja assassin. And now she seems to be in charge of the game.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Right. So I see your point. And that all makes sense. And that, I hope you're wrong, just because it would be more interesting if it was someone else.
So do I. I'm really, at this point, I wanted to throw me a curveball that about episode 4 or 5. I'm like that, but I don't know. There's 3 characters left. Now it could be any of them. So that's what I want.
Yeah. So the other, my theory right now, which again has no basis in anything, is that it's the housekeeper.
Oh, right.
So, just because, like, she's been put upon all these years, she didn't want Liv to come back for the weekend, and also it gives her an opportunity. Like, she had this relationship with Cronenberg, and that's why she's killing the dude that's fucking his wife now, and, that kind of thing. So, we'll see how all this goes, but that's my roll of the dice. Hey, at this point,
on some level as well, maybe she overhears a conversation where he's speaking to the woman about assisted suicide.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe.
Right, and she would, like, again, it's one of those things where, like, oh well, the help knows. You know, like nobody pays attention to her, but she's seeing everything.
Possibly, yeah.
So that's my theory right now, and we'll see how it all goes.
It wasn't a good episode.
It's not a great start. It's not a great start.
No.
All right. Well, Duncan, before we wrap things up here, let's take a moment. Tell everybody where you can be found between now and 2 weeks when we talk again about this nonsense.
Yeah, you can check out all the stuff that I do with Podcasts Under the Stairs and the Teapots Collective at teapotscast.com. Loads going on just at the moment. Podcasts Under the Stairs is doing some box set stuff, looking at Gamera and looking at Lindsay Baker box set. We're also doing a movie club series on Brian De Palma, as well as about to do a Russian Roulette franchise retro on Rec. And then on the Teapots Collective, Where to Begin With comes back in a couple of weeks' time. We're looking at film noir, neo-noir on that. Doing The Nasty, we'll have a new episode out by the time this one drops, where we looked at, what did we do? Happy Birthday to Me, which is a very long movie, but the payoff's kind of cool. And another movie which completely escapes me. Oh, Mausoleum, which is absolutely fucking bonkers.
That Mausoleum is bananas, yes.
Absolute bananas, like to the point where you would think it was made by an Italian, but it wasn't. It was made by an American, which is mind-blowing. So that's there on the Chronicle show. I've opened that up this season for guests, so people are picking a European horror movie they want to discuss, and they're coming on to do that. The first episode will also be out by the time this one drops, with David Garrett Jr. being my first guest. The movie he picked, which I will not spoil here, was a really good one. I hadn't seen it in years. And then finally on that feed, there is Opera Omnia, which has just dropped its final episode of season 3. Bo Ransdell was the co-host for the entire season, looking at David Fincher, and we finished on the very, 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 very ambitious and kind of fucking awesome Mank. So that's all can be found tpuckscast.com.
Great. And if you want to hear any more out of me, you can find The Dark Parade, my horror series, all on any podcatcher of your choice. You can also, of course, find this show, Duncan and Bo Come Correct. And lastly, but certainly not least, you can find Pick 6 Movies. That is a thing I do with my buddy Chad, and we are doing a bunch of Die Hard ripoffs this season, so that's a good time. And you can find my shows and many, many other fine programs over on legionpodcasts.com. I don't think I've told you this. I'll tell you this right here on the air, Duncan. I'm not going to be running it after June. The Legion Podcast.
Oh wow! I did not know this. This is been sprung out of nowhere.
That's right.
Is it continuing on, or is it moving on?
Yeah. There, some of the other hosts are going to kind of take over, but in terms of, like my tenure as Grand Poobah of the network and whatnot, I'm just going to be stepping down. Like I've done it for a number of years. You've done it for like almost the entirety. I think out with the first year and a half, and it was under a different name then. So and like everything's going well. We're doing as well as we've ever been, but it's kind of that thing of like, let me go out on top. Like things are going well.
Yes,
and also get some new blood. Like I the way I put it to people is like, if I continue to work as the kind of editor-in-chief of Legion Podcast, it is just going to be continuing to do the stuff that I've been doing.
Yeah.
And I think every now and again, you need to shake things up and have somebody come in to take it a different direction. So
did you break this news to them all over dinner at the last minute and then tell them that they were all going to have to compete against each other for the ratings of Legion Podcast Network?
That is 100% accurate. I told Cord that his art, I've seen better art in a toilet bowl. I told Darren he's a man-child. So I'm still going to be doing it for a while still to kind of help with the transition of all that stuff. But come June, I'm like all the shows will still be on Legion Podcasts and so forth. I just won't be in charge of it anymore. And
imagine all the free time, Bo, that you're just going to replace with another podcast.
I won't replace it with another podcast, but there's stuff that I want to do that I haven't had time to do.
Yeah,
and that's one of the reasons that I'm kind of stepping away as well. It's just like, with Dark Parade, there are things I would like to do with that show that I don't have the time to do. And So but I'm I'm very proud of what I've done, but also very excited to see what comes next. And I'm looking for just like everybody else. I'll be like, well, I wonder what they're going to do now. So it's going to be strange and interesting and kind of wonderful to be in the audience again.
Nice.
So, at any rate, also, if you have any interest in running a podcast network, I'm sure that, there we will have a series of feats of strength. But also I know the hosts that are working on it, are certainly open to ideas. So, now is the time, if you've ever thought to yourself, like, I could do a better job than fucking Bo, then now is your time. It is your chance to shine.
I can do a better job than Farty Caca Bo.
Then fart nonsense nose blowing booger head Bo. I don't know.
He did do the Anchorman line, didn't he? He's like, I've seen better art in the toilet store.
You're right. But anyway, we'll be back in 2 weeks with yet another episode of Slasher.
We are counting them down, Bo. We are counting them. We're almost out.
we've only got 7 episodes of Slasher ever left.
Yeah, we are. To put things into perspective for the listeners, we are now in the shit tunnel from Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
All the hard work chiseling and getting through, we've done that a bit. This is now the shit tunnel. Episode 8 of this, me and Bo will be standing arms raised in the rain.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So until then, the only thing left to do is to say to my good friend Duncan, say goodnight, Duncan.
To my good friend Duncan, say goodnight, Duncan.
Nah.